Hi everyone. So today I want to talk about the importance of play in our children's lives, in our lives too, but in our children's lives. I think there's a major crisis that we are facing actually nowadays. I think that there's one of the studies that just came out that depression and anxiety in children since the 1950s has quadrupled. That's tremendous. I mean, this is huge. And a lot of it, the psychologists are attributing to something called play deficit, right? So not enough play in our children's lives. And I think it's really, really important that we look into it not only as professionals, as parents, as teachers, as a society. We really got to look into what is going on with our children that is causing this to happen at these proportions. So this is pretty alarming. When we think about play, when I'm talking about play, I'm talking about free play, free exploration play, and play that's outdoors is even better, but it's free exploration. Really, kids just could be themselves and play together. We have to understand that there is no division between playing and learning for a child. It's absolutely the same. This is how a child learns. So it's not one or the other. So especially when you go into schools and you see the amount of time that children are spending in the classroom when they could be playing and learning at the same time, especially when they're very young, you know, the emphasis that's given to academics. I mean, when you think about play being learning, it's really important to make time for that. So I want you to keep in mind, right? We're going to talk about a little bit of what happens when children are playing so we can get a better idea of what exactly are the skills that are building when we do play and what could they be lacking when they are not exposed to that kind of play enough during the day. So when a child plays, it's really their mind that's in action, right? So they're taking in information. That's where they're taking in information. They start understanding what they like, what they don't like. They socially play with other children. They learn how to negotiate with other children. They learn how to manage their own emotions when something goes right or doesn't go right. They learn empathy for another child as well. If you're playing and let's say someone loses, how to, be empathetic for somebody. Happy for yourself but empathetic for someone else. So they're learning all those social skills. They're also learning how to take their turn, how to be patient. They're learning how to make choices, not only choices in terms of who's going first, who's going last, negotiating that, also choices in terms of what should I play and how do we play it, right? Problem solving it as well. There's so much going on in play. Trying social roles, learning how to be mommy or daddy or playing doctor, right? These are all social roles that they learn as well. All this is happening through play. And also sensory exploration. I mean, I can't even start that subject, right? How much sensory exploration goes into play. They also learn risk assessment, right? Is this something dangerous that I do? Do I jump off this thing or not? If they do jump off and get hurt, how do they manage that? How do they learn that lesson, right? All these things are coming into play. So it's not to point the finger and to create a blaming game on, why children aren't playing. It's not solely because of schools or solely because parents are too busy. It's not. But it's really to understand what our children are being exposed to, right? We have to understand that a child's brain is not a little adult brain. It's not. It's a smaller brain, but it's a brain that's a developing brain. So everything that they are exposed to or not exposed to is actually developing their brain and really having a huge effect. So it's important for us to really think about it that way. So exposure is huge for a child. If we look at play nowadays, a few things are going on. Number one, a lot less play in schools in terms of, as they get older, there's a lot more emphasis of staying in the classrooms and academics. And, a lot of schools are cutting down time on recess or PE, right? So that's one thing that they're exposed to. Another thing that they're exposed to is play dates, right? I don't know about everybody else, but I know as a child, we didn't have play dates. It was, we'd get home from school, we'd be outdoors right away. We would find a friend, then the friends from the neighborhood, and then, we would find one friend or another friend, call our mom to let her know where we are, and we would come home before dinner. So it wasn't that organized kind of play that parents would control, or that, that's less organic, right? Or less natural, where we picked who we wanted to go outside and play with, and things just, packed on. It was a lot more natural, right? It was more organic. Whereas nowadays, the play that children do have, yes, of course, they're exposed to free play when they have a play date, but there's also a lot of arranged kind of play where they're playing a certain arranged game, or they're going together to grab an ice cream, or together to the movies, right? That's the kind of play that children are exposed to a lot more nowadays through play dates. I also see that a lot of children's after school activities, right? That's what we think they're getting their play. They are getting play through that, but it's a different kind of play that I'm talking about. That kind of play will give them definitely a lot of skills that, we're tapping into for children. But at the same time, it's not the same thing as free exploration play, right? When the child goes to an after-school activity, for example, soccer or karate or something like that, again, it's controlled by an adult, right? It's always controlled by an adult. And at the same time, they're also being judged, right? When they're part of a team or whatever it is, they're judged for their skills. So it's not the same thing as, just going out there and playing with your friends. It's a completely different type of play. It also has its benefits, of course, but it's not the same thing as free exploration and playing more organically with friends. I think that the average child nowadays also, and this is another big thing, the average child spends 7.5 hours in front of media devices. That's tremendous. 7.5 hours a day for the average child. That means no movement at that point. There's no movement for 7.5 hours, and very little sensory exposure. So, I always say to myself, I don't think I've ever met yet a child that has sensory sensitivities when I work with them that grew up on a farm, right? Any kid that's outdoors a lot, you don't have a choice but to be exposed to so much that your nervous system, your neurological system develops with so much sensory exposure that it's not usual to have that. It's not that never, of course never, but it's not a usual thing that you see. The children, even what you want to call neurotypical, that have sensory sensitivities nowadays and don't have anything else, a lot of them it would be, for example, something tactile, where they don't like to get dirty, they don't want to explore anything because they're afraid of getting dirty, right? And this is because the type of play that they have has changed also. So I think that what we need to be aware of as parents, as educators, as therapists, is that importance of play. It's funny because a lot of times parents will tell me, I'm watching you, and and I watch the OTs and and all they're doing is playing. Yeah, that's exactly what we do, because I think a child learns through play. You want to meet a child where they're at, and if we want them to learn a skill, we got to teach it to them the way that they learn the easiest and the fastest, and that's through play. So don't underestimate the value of play. So I think as children, as parents, the advice that I can give you when you're raising children is make sure to give them free play, right? And a lot of parents will tell me, I know, but if I give them free play, they don't know what to do. It's got to start somewhere. They don't know what to do because of that. The exposure hasn't been there. Even toys, the toys have changed nowadays. You just push a button and the entire thing just, entertains you by literally the touch of a button. So there's no more of that trying to figure it out, taking the toy, playing with it a certain way, imagining that it's something else, right? And really staying on the same toy for hours and hours. A lot of times now they're, the quick fix that they get by touching a button and the whole thing lights up, takes away that patience that they have and that love or desire they have for, for further exploration, because there's nothing much more to explore from those toys. So because there's that kind of entertainment, and we see it a lot also with children that do play a lot of electronics, right? They're so entertained, they don't need to really be doing much, that when you tell them, all right, like, let's turn off the electronic and let's start to play, they really don't know how to play, right? So start somewhere. Start with games at least. Get outdoors. That's the best healer ever. So getting outdoors with your children every single day, spending some time playing with them. If they can't play on their own, start where they are. So play with them. And then, of course, if they have siblings, that makes things a lot easier. But, get children to play together. Free play. Nothing that you need to manipulate and control. Again, if I tell you, that you go in as a parent to play, it's because you need to start where they're at. So maybe they're at where you control it, but then you have to get them to a point where children can play on their own. And again, and if you're going to buy toys, the toys that you buy, think about keeping them more simple so that the children can really explore the toy and explore the way to explore their imagination and their problem-solving skills and everything else. So I can't emphasize enough the importance of play. I think that a lot of children that even appear to have sensory sensitivities, learning difficulties, things like that, a lot of time it's that lack of exposure to play, right? And get them outdoors. I can't say that enough. Nature is a huge, huge healer. Okay, so send me your little comments and I will be back next week. Have a good day. Bye.